Hi, I'm Soo Jung Pei, your host of a whole new global talk show, Newstellers. Every year, Arirang TV invites journalists from all over the world to Korea, and this year they join us from 16 different countries. And today we have the great privilege of having 5 of those journalists right here with us in the studio. Welcome to Newstellers, guys.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. Please tell us a little bit about yourselves. What's your name, where you're from, and your connections to Korea, shall we say?
My name is Volker Hirt. I'm from Germany, and I'm a reporter. I'm an editor for sports and politics.
I'm Tarek Samouti from Egypt. I'm a deputy editor-in-chief. I'm working at political and foreign affairs.
My name's Alison Evans. I work in London at a company called IHS.
Hi, my name is Fernando Laborda. I came from Argentina, South America. That's the other side of the world.
Indeed.
And I am a journalist. I'm working for a newspaper called La Nación.
I'm Cyrus Mbati. I work with the Standard newspapers, which is in Nairobi, Kenya, Africa. I work under security and political desk.
A wide range of experience and I'm sure insights today as well. So it's great to have you here. You guys are here for about a week in Korea to report on the country and to learn more about Korea. Is it your first time here?
No, I've been here several times. I mentioned I'm also cover sports. We had a Formula 1 Grand Prix in Korea.
Yep.
Maybe not everybody knows, but we had. Big event, it was in Mokpo, south of South Korea.
Right.
And I was in Daegu for the World Championship Athletic 2011, several times in Seoul, so I like the country, and I'm happy to be here again.
Nice, good to have you. How about the rest of you?
Also for me, it's not first time, second time for me. I was here in 2006. It's maybe almost 9 years ago, but it's
Has it changed a lot?
totally different.
Yeah.
More advanced in everything. So I am so happy to notice what happened and see what is going on.
Yeah.
This is actually my 4th time in Korea.
Oh, wow.
I was lucky
A
enough
veteran.
I was lucky enough to do a short language course at Kyunghee University in 2008 when I didn't speak any Korean, so that was very interesting. And I came back in 2012 when I spoke some Korean to do an internship in Seoul.
Oh, wow.
And also came back later that year to do some more research. So I'm happy to be here. It's been 3 years.
Yes, this is my first time in Korea.
Wow.
And it's also the first time I had to travel almost 30 hours for my country
30 hours.
in 2
Wow.
planes.
That's dedication.
That was exciting, but I'm very pleased to be here and to know a new country for me.
It's great to have you. And lastly, Cyrus.
It's the first time to be in Korea.
First time.
Yes, and I find it interesting. I developed the world, actually.
So a few of you have been here before, a few of you it's your first time. But what drew you to Korea? Were you always interested in the country?
For me, because we've been reading this thing about the North and the South. And you wonder that in this era, there is a division between the North and the South. That the people who are in the North cannot be allowed to come to the South, and those who are in the North cannot be allowed to go, or rather those who are in the South cannot be allowed to go to the North. So it's a good experience to be here to see first-hand information. People are talking about it, very old people who are giving their experience on how it has been difficult for them to meet their loved ones who are in the North. So these things are now coming out in reality because we've been reading them online.
Yeah.
Now it's real that we are seeing them.
Okay.
For me, Korea is a very interesting place to know, but I get particularly interested in your country. A few months ago, when I received a satellite photo taken by night that showed North Korea and South Korea, and it was a great impact for me to see South Korea, plenty of lights, and North Korea, absolutely dark.
Yeah.
That really shocked me, and I want to know why.
Yeah, for me it's a natural thing because I'm coming from Germany and we were a divided country.
Indeed.
So for me it's quite interesting to see a still divided country and all the problems you are facing. So very, very interesting.
And have there been any recent news stories about Korea that you're particularly interested in or that you personally reported on?
For me, it's not only one report, more reports about this, especially for, as we said, what happened between two families from South Korean and North Korean, and what's going on in the future. We hope it's not the last time, because it's very human things to gather with your family. It's don't say from 70 years ago. It's a long time. And it's very human thing. So it should follow and focus on this point. This, in my point of view, is very important. And also another story about the human resources here, how the human here is advanced and how the training, especially in IT and different fields, it's more Korea. South Korea now is advanced very fast. So we should notice this and how to do it, and we should also transfer this to other countries like development countries and the others.
So there's a variety of aspects that our foreign journalists are concentrating on. Any others?
Yeah, one of the most recent things that I wrote about was the escalation of incidents in August. And of course the big media story around that was that the exchange of artillery fire across the DMZ on the 20th of August was unprecedented. Until then, across the DMZ, there'd been small arms and anti-aircraft, but artillery shells had only gone across the maritime boundary, the NLL. It was also the first change since South Korea changed its defense policy in 2012. So I think it was definitely a big story, but of course we were all relieved to see that the two Koreas were able to come to an agreement at the end of August, and also that the families were able to meet in October as a result of that.
So various aspects once again. And what are you most looking forward to in Korea? What are you looking to get out of this trip?
For me, I mean, it's just a great opportunity to go to various ministries and think tanks and also meet people in person. Yesterday we were able to talk to some defectors from North Korea, but it's great to hear those stories in person and get some more insight into life in North Korea.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the difference. We were reporting and have our background only theoretically, and now we really talk to persons we can feel and hear and touch, you know, and this makes a real difference because it's full of emotions sometimes, and you can really feel what they were going through. This is really a difference. When you report from abroad, it's not the same. So you give us a good inside view, and we are thankful for that.
More personal, you're writing.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the human aspect of it seems to be the general consensus here. But coming from different backgrounds, coming for different reasons, and different experiences with Korea, I think we're going to have a very interesting and insightful discussion today. So make sure you keep watching. Our topic today is the Korean Peninsula in the eyes of the foreign media. So today we're going to be studying the dynamics of the Korean Peninsula with our international journalists, many of whom I believe specialise in diplomacy and security. But first, let's take a look at the screen. The North Korean regime owns all domestic media outlets and has blocked their citizens from accessing outside information. On the other hand, they take advantage of external sources, such as Western media, to continue their propaganda efforts to consolidate national unity. The North Korean media frequently reports on the activities of Kim Jong-un and his involvement in military exercises. This is then broadcasted worldwide via international news coverage. Responses depend on the official position of individual countries as well as professional background reports on the North. Experienced foreign news reporters are often sent to the North to report on the country firsthand as well. With that said, now is a crucial time to think about the nature of inter-Korean tensions. So could you tell us how the tensions on the Korean Peninsula and the inter-Korea relations are viewed by the foreign media, particularly in your own countries? Which aspects are most highlighted?
I think most part of the democratic world realizes that North Korea is a huge prison for its people.
Okay.
And we also know that last year the Human Rights Commission charged the Security Council of the United Nations to transfer the case of North Korea to the International Criminal Court. I think the important fact is to think what international society can do to stop human rights violations in North Korea.
Okay.
In our country, it's about the leader, the small man who killed his uncle because he was seen to be opposing his leadership, and his nuclear program. All the provocations that he commits at the DMZ, that's what usually comes out. And people want to know, who is this man? He's too young, he's very young. Why should he shake the South Korea? Why is the South Korea fearing him? You know, in our continent, people are used to invasion. People asking, why can't we invade him and dethrone him from power? So those are the questions that emerge after people say that, or reports emerge that saying that Kim, the leader of the North, is actually threatened to bomb the South. Everyone is always curious to know why is he feared? Why can't you take action in him? Those are the questions people are asking.
Yeah,
Okay, so the elusive leader.
Yeah.
Similarly, people have a lot of questions in English language media, and I think they really focus on how little we know about North Korea and how different it is, how unknowable it is. But of course, there are a lot of reliable sources on North Korea, and we do know relatively a lot. It's just whether that is reported or not. Obviously, I write about things that are fact-checked, and I think one of the sensationalist approaches of the media is that it focuses on all of the terrible things that happen and less so on the positive aspects, for example, the separated families meeting.
Yeah.
And we did learn yesterday that foreign reporters weren't allowed to attend that event. But I think if positive changes like that were also reported on in English language media, that would provide a greater balance.
Indeed.
In Egypt, we have a different situation because we have both embassies. We have a relation with South Korean and North Korea. And we have embassy for North Korea from long time ago, before South Korean. Because we have a historic relation with North Korea from 1965 till now. And we started diplomatic relation with South Korean from 1995, at almost 15 years ago. But now what happened is the relation between Egypt and South Korea is more advanced and more commercial. We have more factories there for different brands from here, and still we have the North Korean embassy in Cairo, but we haven't any information about what happened or what was going on in North Korea. All the time it depends on the information about from South, from Western media, from American media. There's nothing from North Korean. Despite we have ambassadors there. So all the time we asking more questions about what is going on in North Korea. Is closed, it's dark from us. We can't catch any information.
Right. So it can be pretty one-sided due to the lack of information.
Yeah, that's really a problem. Tarek, you told me that you have North Korean people you meet. North Korean people live in Egypt.
Yes.
In Cairo. You know, it's a free world, and it's Western world. You know, this is a big difference because Fernando said it's a big prison. This is what our media also say. And everybody has to sell a story, and you cannot sell a story if you say, yeah, it's something in between. You always have to say good and bad. That's the only thing.
That's why I think it's important to listen to, for example, the North Korean defectors' stories who we spoke to yesterday, because they said, you know, until they left North Korea, the education or lack of education that they received there was all that they knew. And I think to keep that in mind will really help us to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about the tensions on the Korean Peninsula and how that relates to the peace and stability of Northeast Asia and the wider international community as well. But recently there was a civilian exchange event between the two Koreas which reunited families separated by the Korean War. So let's take a look at the news story covering the event. Last October, after 20 long-awaited months, the Inter-Korean family reunion event ended successfully. But one reunion is hardly enough time to catch up for the families who have not heard from each other for 60 years. As more separated families pass away, the need for the reunion system to be diversified into various communication channels is becoming stronger every day. Due to the advanced age and infirmity of the first-generation separated families, a special reunion program for those who are in their 80s and 90s is an urgent need as well. As the reunion drew to a close, many fully shared the view that the issue of separated families should be fundamentally resolved. So during your trip here, you've had a chance to meet with some of these separated families. How did it go and what kind of feelings did they bring up?
The whole thing about unification, you find it's so complex in a way that it's expensive, it's so demanding. The South is committed to that. The problem is that we don't know whether the North is committed to that. And when we were looking at the videos which were shown yesterday about those people who have gone up to the North and those who have come here, there were two moving that I was imagining if it was my case, I would not accept to stay there. I'll try to see whether I can come back with my siblings. But those people were old, they were crying, they were hugging each other. Even the video room where we were, I saw some people crying there. So it was a moving and personal experience that I'll want to relate to the other people in the world.
I think one of the people that we met yesterday who was able to meet his younger sibling said it best when he said, you know, it's my human right to be with my family and to be able to talk to them. And as Cyrus said earlier, it was so moving to watch those videos and speak to those people about how just almost by chance they ended up on opposite sides of the border when the armistice was signed in 1953 and they were no longer able to go back, partly because of poverty but also partly because of the division of the two Koreas. And I think it's really sad to watch those stories and understand that I think it's particularly important now that the younger generations in both North Korea and South Korea don't have those memories of a unified peninsula themselves, to have these reunification meetings at Mount Kumgang and the family reunions.
It is sad because it's becoming less of a relevant issue to the younger generation.
We are talking about humans, and no human is born as a political person.
Right.
So I believe that that it is still possible, because we had it in Germany. We had really a communist party and ruled by the Soviet Union in East Germany. But in the end, it was the people going on the street, and they gathered more and more, and that was the beginning of the reunification in Germany. And this is what I guess is also theoretically possible, but I don't know under how much pressure they are not to gather. So I think the pressure is big, so they cannot gather. But this would be the only thing, and it's easy to answer your question, it's easy to go upon some political ideas.
So a number of you have mentioned this civilian exchange event as a possible first step towards reunification. But of course there are arguments that the ideological gap between the North and the South is just far too big to breach. Do you think this is possible? And if it were, how would we go about achieving a peaceful reunification?
It's very difficult to put it on the land.
Absolutely.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
When we talk about the situation between North and South and the reunification of this, we should talk about some facts. It's long time. We talk about 70 years. It means seven generations. It means it's a very big gap between economic in South and North.
Yeah.
It's a very big gap in culture now changed because it's 70 years. It closed this country and this country is open and everything you can get here. It's North. No, it's very difficult to get it. It's all the time in North. We are hearing about the military and the we should fight and should it's the mentality is totally different. So I think it will take more time and more time. And also we should talk about the cost of this reunification. As our
Germany
friend,
$1 billion.
Yes, so the gap in the economy is very important.
Right.
So it's more facts we should discuss it. So the reunification authority here, it's very important because it should discuss these facts and put it in front of official eyes here and try to do this and try to make more efforts to make reunification. It's not just talking. We need to take actions for this.
Reunification process may come more from the people than from the government's actions. The problem is that after years of brainwash in North Korea, and you ask and nobody knows if they have internet. I think there's no access to internet in North Korea and no access to South Korea broadcast probably. It's very difficult to advance more in a reunification process. But I think that if there's something that you never have to do is giving up.
I think we heard yesterday similarly that some of the North Korean defectors did have access to South Korean dramas, for example, and that helped them to get an image of what life was like outside. And I do think that's important for a more kind of grassroots movement. But I think for the North Korean leadership to stay in power, they're more likely to integrate gradual changes to the economy, including opening up special economic zones, rather than some giant movement of the people. Again, we heard yesterday that depending on where you live in North Korea, your perspective is quite different about the outside world.
So there may be different approaches to the reunification process, but I think we'll just have to wait it out and see what happens over the next probably few decades, isn't it? Every week on Newstellers, we actually wrap up the show with a final headline which summarises the contents of our discussion. So if our talk was an article that you'd written, what would your grand headline be? Is anyone ready to go first?
We can say human challenge weapons in Korean Peninsula.
Okay.
The South believes unification is possible.
Some hopeful words.
My headline would be Korea, two faces of the same coin.
Highlighting the similarities rather than the differences.
I would headline, a peaceful country is looking for peace.
Very poetic.
I don't normally write headlines,
Okay.
but I guess this has been a really interesting discussion. So something along the lines of a Korean wave of information.
Okay. Well, thank you once again for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, absolutely.
We did.
Food is good in Korea.
Is it starting to show? No, but it was a fascinating discussion today. It was great to get a new perspective on an issue that sometimes can feel like it's overworked, but it's been great to listen to the more human side of the stories as well. Next week on part 2 of our special episode, we'll be following our international journalists on their reporting trip. They will also be joined by other journalists from around the world, so make sure you tune in then for a whole new and special episode of Newstellers. We will be open for any opinions or requests on our official website as well as our Facebook page.